usually scheduled Wednesday stream, although I guess the Faeria crowd isn't real used to my usual schedule since I haven't officially posted yet, since I'm not sure how committed I am. Anyways, enough about that. So, it's my second stream for Faeria. It's been a few days since I last streamed, but since then I feel like I've really come a long way. Like, last time I was still sort of like, I mean, I'm still a new player. It's still less than a month of playtime for me. But, you know, I'm slowly inching my way towards the top of the ladder here. It's currently sitting at rank 35. But, you know, I've made a lot of revisions to my list because, you know, I had pretty solid lists before, but, you know, they were good on paper lists rather than honed for the meta. Like, I'd gotten a firm grasp of the game, and, you know, I've always had pretty good deck building fundamentals, even though Faeria's deck requirements are a little different than most games due to, you know, the mana carryover. But, you know, now I feel like I've gotten a much firmer grasp of the meta, so I've done a lot of revisions to a bunch of my, you know, main decks here. So I figured I would go ahead and go over those a little bit, and then run through the decks that got major revisions, and then maybe we'll move on to, you know, rather than just playing all of my top-notch decks, maybe we'll move on to some of my other projects or, you know, things that are highly competitive rather than God rank. So let's start by talking about my Aquamancy list, which was, you know, the first list I ever made. And when I posted it, I'd actually recently made a bunch of small changes to it that just didn't quite pan out. You know, I'd taken out Spell Swirl and Lore Thieves, but I really felt like I missed them too much. They were really just too good. And then another card I've been shoehorning into most of my list now is Destructive Volley, just because there are so many things that this card deals with in the meta. I mean, here, let me just show you the massive list of really common things in the meta that this card really trades up into. So, you know, that I've been trying to find room for that in most of my list these days. Because there's the yellow flyer decks, which are just brutal. You know, a lot of the top 10 folks are using yellow flyers, so if you're not prepared to deal with them, you're in a bit of trouble. So, aside from being, you know, a 3-mana, 2-damage ping, which isn't bad on its own, it can kill a buffed up commander. It can, it definitely, it trades into Township and Drake Rider, and both of these see a lot of play and are really obnoxious cards. Can trade up and, well, it doesn't kill Soul Eaters usually, but, you know, it can do enough damage that you can usually trade into them. And the same can be said for, you know, other of the big flyers that are common, like Soul Eater, Moby. Radiance has been seeing less play since his nerf, but still shows up. Scourge Flame Spectre, that's a big one that it just straight up kills. Like, you know, that's a 4-mana trade up there. Same with, like, all of the big elemental dragons. You know, while it doesn't quite kill them, it gets them close enough that they're pretty easy to finish off. But, you know, the main reasons I'm running it are because of Drake Rider, Township, Scourge Flame Spectre, pretty much all of the yellow flyers, but most importantly, you know, Windborn Champion. This card is just such a rude monster, and it just cleans it up so efficiently. So it's a really, really strong anti-meta pick, and it just goes a really long ways towards making sure you're prepared to deal with a lot of the decks people at the top are playing. So that was the main changes there. I put Spell Swirl, Lore Thief, and Destructive Volley back in. Let's see, where were we at? Yes, what I had to end up cutting my Sturdy Shell Gabriel enchantment from a few of my lists, which makes me sad because that was sort of one of my new player pet crutches that served me well when I was still building my collection, but unfortunately it just doesn't quite stand up to some of the other things. So that's the major revision to my Aquamancy deck, which is ironically made it look a lot more similar to my early laddering days. Then the other big thing is I massively revised one of my highly competitive decks, and I now think it is probably the best list I have. It's just really nasty. I traded out about half the cards in it. The principle's still the same. It's still a yellow-blue control disciple list. But other than that, other than Last Nightmare, Disciple, and these cards here, basically everything else changed. It was a major revision, but now I'm just really happy with this list. This is probably my favorite list that I have. I'll definitely be playing that some on the stream today. Let's see, the other list that I did a pretty big revision for was my Divine Bond. My blue-green Divine Bond list, which is the Gabriel enchantment / enchantress / high health abuse deck. So, the principle's similar. I played it on stream last week. Really high health units plus enchantress or enchantment is just really brutal. Previously, I had the deck playing a lot more passively with a lot more, backline mana harvesters, again, my Gabriel / Sturdy Shell combo is in here, but I've since revised the deck to be really aggressive and sort of now builds Path to Face. Although, unlike your usual rush decks, you don't immediately rush to your opponent's side with the prairies. You just slowly work your way over there with Pellet Lands. So we'll definitely probably pull that one out today. The principle is the list has stayed the same. There's only been a couple card changes, but the big thing was the shift in focus on how I played it. I think and then of course I added a new list. Well, two new lists if you count my Royal Edict list, but two new lists to God rank. Your yellow-green sacrifice Soul Eater list. I really like Soul Eater. It's such a cool card, and I've played a ton of versions of this deck trying to get it to work. Trying to be something I'm happy with. And there's a few other hanging out in my thread, but this one's unfortunately not as creative as I'd like to think it is, because I've seen pretty similar things to this running around on the ladder quite a bit. The principle is pretty straightforward. Lots of cheap sacrificable units that help maintain your hand or field while you're sacrificing them to just ramp up Soul Eater value really quickly, combined with, and so your win conditions are Soul Eater, Doomgate, Bone Collector, and to a much lesser extent, Demon Wranglers. For control, you've got the Assassins and Lady. So it's a really nasty deck that can roll over a lot of decks uncontested. So it's really brutal, but it does certainly have some weaknesses, and that is my lack of really true hard removal means backline threats like Magda can be an issue for it, or ranged units. luckily, neither of those are too common, and that's why the deck performs so well. I don't like having a big weakness in a list, but trying to... I've played the full-on control variant of it quite a bit. It's definitely how I prefer to play the deck. That's my harvest list down here, which is similar in principle, but instead of running all the sacrifice units and whatnot, we just have strong units and lots of removal. But it just doesn't have the pressure, and it's slow. So while it doesn't have weaknesses, it's a little bit stretched thin. So probably won't play this list today. Well, maybe I will. It depends if people want to see it or not. But I guess that's enough yakking about my decks for now. I think well, there's not really anyone here right now anyways, but for those that are here, let's go ahead and hop into game. I'm going to go ahead and start out with my favorite list here, which is my yellow-blue Disciple Control deck. I'll probably switch to casual after this match, just because I have a pretty tough time concentrating at the same time while I'm streaming. I end up making really silly mistakes. Your classic streamer's curse. You do great when people aren't watching, and not so great when people are watching. Although it looks like my client... Oh, no, there it goes. It woke up. And that's just because splitting your attention is a little tough. Alright, so here is my Royal Edict deck. Let's go ahead and queue up, and then we will go from there. Let's see, I did let streaming channel know I'm up and running. I am on Faeria. Alright, good deal. So, well, now that we're queuing up, I suppose I can yak about my decks a little bit more. I guess I can just go into the list I'm playing in a little bit more detail. The concept is very simple, although it's a pretty high skill cap deck. Because it's all about knowing your matchups and conserving your resources and using the right answers at the right time. But the principle is simple. Lots of spells, tons of removal makes Disciple a real scary monster. And should Disciple fail, you've got Kaios and Magda as backup plans. Alright, looks like we've got a game here. How free-to-play friendly is Faeria? Well, unfortunately, Faeria isn't actually free to play anymore. It used to be, and if you owned the game when it was free to play, you get it for free. But these days, they switched to a buy-to-play model, whereas you buy the game with or without the expansions. I recommend starting with just the base game just to make sure you like it. Plus, I made it to God rank with just the base game and a budget deck that I made in a couple of days. So the game's pretty affordable. I think it's still on winter sale, so if you are going to look into it, now is definitely the time. I had a full collection with all the expansions within a month of playing. So while it's technically not a free-to-play game anymore, it's super generous once you buy it. So here's a big thing about this deck. Well, in general, you don't want to just play and explore for no reason, because that gives your opponent information about where you're moving, as well as a few other things like that. But it's especially true in this deck. You want to hold off on using it if you can, because you really want to save it to go with your Disciple if possible. So for now, I'm just biding my time. This looks like it's going to be a super aggressive green rush deck that's just going to build Path to Face here and then start dropping really big stat sticks. We're pretty favored in this matchup because we have A, a combination of healing, and B, a lot of removal to deal with its big stat sticks. And this list doesn't actually run any provoke or taunts for Faeria. Taunts are, provoke, taunt, play self-explanatory. If you're running taunt minions, I like to have my center tile here because dropping a taunt minion there protects you on all sides. But if you're not running taunts, it's usually better to force your opponent to develop all the way down the center lane. Makes them, spend another wheel use getting a land here. So, that's my bit there versus rush decks. If you're up against rush and you're running taunts, it's good to build a land here. If you're not, it's better to make them build a land there. Yep, there's that Verdant Force, no surprise there. So the other thing about this deck is, I'm sort of splitting my mana generation here. Although since I have this Frogify, I'm going to probably start focusing on water here. I probably shouldn't have. I think this Frogify was in my hand before, but I was too distracted answering your question toss to notice it. If I'd noticed that Frogify, I would have probably been rushing blue rather than getting that yellow down. But, the yellow's probably not really going to... Well, the yellow might hurt something because, these early turns are really key in this matchup. So I really probably should have been trying to rush my lakes for Frogify. But, having the one desert does, give me more options. So we're just going to, conserve our resources and hang tight there. There's no benefit in playing anything in our hand right now. And especially because we're trying to wait for Disciples to play our spells. We really just want to sort of bide our time here. While he's definitely going to get some serious damage done with this Verdant Force, that's not the end of the world. Like, your life is fine until you're dead, unless you're up against red, and then you might die at any point from burn. But, when you're not against red, until you're out of life, you're fine. So it is okay to sacrifice some life early on to try and, get advantage. Because once you gain control of the game versus rush decks, you usually keep it. Now, my biggest mistake here that may cost me the game is not rushing my Frogify. But we'll see here. Hopefully he'll drop something else that, I don't know. We'll see. I do have Soul Drain and Emperor's Command, so I can definitely recover on life pretty quickly. But not having Frogify this turn is really going to hurt. Like, him getting one trade there and then me Frogifying it, that would have been beautiful. That would have probably put me ahead in a position to win. But I screwed up, your usual streamer's curse. Of course, that means I may end up tanking my rating versus somebody that's not even God rank. Well. Unlikely here. Okay. Well, that may make... Ooh. Yeah, I am really paying for not having my fourth lake right now. And I can't finish this off. Well, hold on now. Okay, I can finish this here off. It's just going to require massive investment that will probably get me killed by Verdant Force. Because if I don't start developing my lakes now... Alright, so to kill this, I would need... Get you to 3... Alright, well, unfortunately that is probably my best bet. I may end up losing the game because I missed my opportunity to Frogify this turn, but, we're going to do what we can here to try and recover. Basically, I need to draw a Last Nightmare this turn, and if I don't, I probably lose. Oops, need to make sure I sequence this correctly so this doesn't get buffed up. If I draw myself a Last Nightmare, I can, just drop that last desert and deal with that Verdant Force and be okay. Okay, so how this works here is I need 4 blue lands to meet that little 4 thresh. So you need 4 mana, which, I have plenty of the mana for, but I need 4 blue lands to play it. And because I accidentally developed a desert here early on, I wasn't able to develop the Frogify this turn. Now, I may be able to just hang tight here with 1 point of health. Well, no, again, unless I draw a Last Nightmare this turn, I'm in big trouble. If I draw a Last Nightmare, I can probably turn this game around big time. But not developing my Frogify at the wrong time is really costing me. Alright, so no, I don't die this turn, so it's not completely lost yet, but it's definitely not looking good. So we're just gonna develop another lake, that way we can Frogify next turn. I need to body block this, or I am just dead for sure. And while I really don't want to spend my Emperor's Command right now, I can't risk him just having a buff spell to, give that Verdant a little bit more attack to finish me, so I'm going to need to use this Emperor's Command to heal. But yeah, I am in a lot of trouble here. Unfortunately, I think missing that lake early on is likely going to cost me this game. The only good way out of it is if I draw on a Last Nightmare, which is just a 6-mana hard removal that requires 3 deserts. But mistakes were made. Hey, you can't win them all. Oh, well, no, I guess that doesn't matter because he just spread it out. Same damage either way. So yeah, this is probably it, unfortunately. This was definitely a winnable game, but I lost because I screwed up my land. Let's see, is there any way I can survive? Maybe if I get really lucky and draw the right cards off of this Fugaro, but probably not. But let's see what we can do. So I'm going to play my 3rd desert, because I need 6 colored land to play Fugaro. And then we're going to go ahead and play our Fugaro. Let's play him by the globe. Put this in our hand and let us draw 2 cards. If I draw Last Night... dang. So, if I'd drawn a Last Nightmare and another ping, I could have survived this turn because I would have had the mana to kill both of these. But unfortunately, I drew more Frogifys, which I still don't have a 4th lake for. So, well, that's it for me this game, unfortunately. I did my best, but you can't win them all. Well, that's not true. This one was definitely winnable, but I screwed it up. Like, as I said, it's a really powerful deck. I think I have a perfect win rate with it when I'm not streaming, of course. But the concept is simple, but executing it takes a lot of practice. And apparently, I don't have enough practice to play it reliably on stream yet. But we're going to try this one more time, and hopefully I don't screw it up again. And after that, I'll move on to some of my other decks, and I may just go ahead and switch over to casual so I don't keep making silly mistakes on stream. Well, I'm still going to make mistakes, and just that way I don't make my mistakes on the ranked ladder. I'll do my ladder pushing when I'm not streaming, which is unfortunate. It'd be nice to show how good of a player I am on stream, but, streamer's curse. It'll never work out. I'll never play my best when I'm having to explain to people how I'm doing things. Alright, so I'm going to replace all of this because I don't want any of it. And you always pretty much replace everything looking for an opening play or a disciple with this list. And I got neither of those, so we're not off to a great start here. But it's fine. Thanks to how Faeria works, like, missing your early game isn't a huge deal, because your mana rolls over every turn, so while it sucks not to get some early globe harvesting going here, it's not the end of the world, because the only difference between it's going to be a 1 or 2 mana difference. That's really all it's going to be, because our mana rolls over, so we're fine. So, well, again, I've got that Frogify in hand, so I need to be developing towards it. I did start with the desert because I'll likely need this. I likely need this Soul Drain in the early game, and Frogify can wait a bit. But I am going to start developing towards Frogify now, and I'll only make the second desert if I need to use the Soul Drain. Looks like we've got a Rainbow Path to Face deck here. Alright, well now we can drop our Lore Thief and start digging for stuff we want. Okay. So, again, we're still not seeing, can decks be circus? Yeah, absolutely. You can play all the colors you want, and it's not nearly as punishing as it is in like Magic the Gathering, because instead of having to draw your mana, how Faeria works is every turn you get your choice between making a colored land, 2 non-colored lands, drawing a card, or mana. You get to choose one of these things. And as you can see, cards have both a mana cost and a land threshold, which means you need of course you need the appropriate mana to cast them, but you also need the amount of colored land developed to use the card. Alright, so definitely, some sort of aggressive Path to Face list here, although you don't usually see those as super rainbowy. But, that's fine. Soul Drains go a really long way versus, aggressive decks like this. Although, we've had a really slow start, which isn't good against this matchup, because I would have very much liked to, drop something in there to block his assault, but that's alright. We've got Soul Drain and Emperor's Command, so we're just not too worried. Like, we can just heal up and, kill stuff he drops. All that Doomgate's a bit of a problem, because it's already out of kill range for Emperor's Command. So what Doomgate does is, once it hits 13 life, it summons a 13/13 haste charge monster that can just charge all the way across. Oh, and it has flying, can charge all the way across the board and hit you in the shrine. But we'll likely have something to just body block it, and then we'll probably Frogify it. But for now, we're just focusing on, well, for now we're just not really going to do a whole lot. We're just going to bide our time and try to find ourselves a disciple before we start playing our spells, and just keep developing our land, and we'll go from there. We have Emperor's Command and Soul Drain, so we can stave off the bleed. Doomgate's such a cool card. It's tough to use, though. And when it comes down to it, I may be able to, well, I can't destroy it with Command. Command can deal 3 damage to it, so I can slow it down. Ooh, that's a fancy little combo there. This is a pretty neat and terrifying rush deck. But, that's alright. Woo! Well, at least that shouldn't get the Kobold Barracks buffs. Oh, man, he's just had a crazy, crazy hand. I do have a YouTube channel, sort of. But, hold on here, let me take my turn here. Alright, since I don't need a Frogify right now, I'm going to go ahead and develop another land. And then a little bit of a tough spot right now because my health is low enough that he could just kill me with a lot of things. But I really want to save this command for the Doomgate, although I guess these things are going to block the Doomgate itself, so the Doomgate's really not my concern. I need to decide between killing this barracks with Emperor's Command or healing up. Let's see. So command is worth 2, but it has long-term value. I don't think he can deal more than 3 damage. This is a tough spot. I think I'm going to go for the heal, just because it's a safer play. You know, I can kill this slowly with my Lore Thief. And I could not afford to risk just dying to what he's got in hand. Given, you know, he almost certainly couldn't kill me. But I'm hoping he's not going to draw more rush. I'm hoping he's going to draw something without rush. And that way, you know, he'll plop that down and hope to get value out of the barracks, but he won't have so much luck. Alright. So we'll go, since again we still don't need our Frogify, we'll just go ahead and develop our last desert that we need, and now we can go ahead and play our Fugaro. Going to play him by my globe. I'll go for draw power. I'm also going to do sort of a cheeky play, and since I've got gobs of hard removal in hand, but nothing to, he's not sticking anything, I'm just going to go ahead and soul drain my own Fugaro to gain a little bit of health off of him, and also clear my hand out so I can use this urn without too much punishing. I'm still not finding my disciples, which is brutal and pretty unlikely. I'm just going to play this Prairie, or this Explore, just because I don't want to burn a card, because 9 is the maximum cards you can have in hand here. Alright, well, let's go ahead and develop it here. And again, we're just going to hang tight and not really do a whole lot here. So, right, as for YouTube, like my streams, my YouTube channel is also just pretty bare bones. I just occasionally throw up my streams that go well on it. Because, you know, Twitch deletes your videos later on. There you go. Alright, looked away. What did we miss? Did we die? Not quite, but getting pretty close to death here. That Doomgate's about to turn online, but luckily, his own barracks are going to block his Doomgate's access, and I'm going to be able to destroy this barracks with Fugaro this turn. There's a small chance he's drawn into what he needs to kill me, and that will suck, and there's not much to be done about it. Hey, good for me. And now I can hop over here, kill this barracks, and block his immediate access to my face. Although, still, we haven't drawn anything that we want in this matchup. I have just a really garbage hand. Like, I really can't afford to use these soul packs in this matchup. Well, I guess we're going to do something else weird and desperate here. I'm going to use my Destructive Volley on my Fugaro. Not because it's a good idea, but just because I need it out of my hand so I can draw a card and look for something else that's useful. There we go. There's a Disciple, so that's good to see. So we're going to go ahead and plop that down by our globe. Now, normally I would, you know, play some spells with it, but I can't afford to use these soul packs. I will die if I use these soul packs, unfortunately, just because I had a really, really slow start. Like, you know, I didn't find any of my Disciples or my Triton. Where's the deck I'm actually playing? Here it is. my Tritons, or lots of... Alright, so we're just going to hang tight here. Fugaro's blocking our face to hopefully keep us alive. We'll get Disciple value soon enough. We're keeping our hand trimmed down just enough. Oh, yep, there's that Seeker's Wrath. Well, nope, no dice. Unfortunately, we just had just an absolutely garbage hand. We drew 3 Last Nightmares, 3 Frogifies, and 3 Soul Packs. Like, the 9 cards in the deck we didn't want to draw. We'd drawn anything other than those 9 cards. The chances of that were just so slim. We'd have been in pretty good shape, but we just drew garbage. And unfortunately, last game I wanted those Nightmares and Soul Packs, and I didn't see them at all. But, so, alright. So, unfortunately, I am not off to a strong start here. Like, one game that we lost because I made a stupid mistake in the early game. I regretted it immediately. And then this game, this is just one of those games where, unfortunately, sometimes there's just nothing you can do. You draw like utter garbage, and your opponent gets a perfect hand, and there's just not much to do. It doesn't happen often because, between 30-card decks and a mulligan and the ability to draw cards whenever you need with your wheel, that's pretty rare. But sometimes it happens. All right, I'm going to play one more ranked game with this deck because I swear this is probably my best deck that has a perfect win rate when I'm not streaming. I mean, it did take me up to, rank 30 in God rank, which is, like Legend in Hearthstone or S rank in Duelist. I was the 30th best ladder player in the world before I started streaming today. But, that's alright. You can't win them all. It's a learning experience. It's good practice for me to, practice streaming and playing at the same time. I'm finally comfortable enough in Duelist that I can do it, but I'm a little sick of Duelist at the moment. Alright, so one more try here. Hopefully this will get, a good game. I don't mind losing. I just like having a good game. I don't want to lose because I made a stupid mistake or have a just garbage hand and it be incredibly one-sided. Like, we held on well there. This is my other deck. I can't believe we drew. God, what are the chances of drawing the 9 cards we didn't want? I can find out exactly how unlikely that was. Although I probably shouldn't do it while my game's loading in here. Alright. Okay, so Triton Chef is our favorite card to open with because it's our best, I think maybe my only turn 1, well, my only opening play. Alright, well, it's definitely way earlier than we like to see Overmind because he has a 6-land threshold, and it's never bad to have. So we're going to go ahead and, plop down our Triton Chef on the side, the opposite side our opponent is developing, because we just want to park him next to this globe long term so he can harvest mana for us. Alright, so 30-card deck, 9 target cards, and we wanted all 9 of them. What was the chances of that happening? Okay, so on average, that won't happen until you have drawn 28 cards of your deck. Meaning that shouldn't have happened until there were 2 cards left in my deck. Alright. Oh, good, and we even got an early Disciple here. So here's the blank. So this is a pretty ideal hand. This is what we like seeing. So we'll toss down our Disciple. Now we'll use our Explorer which will proc our Disciple, and we'll get a Globe Harvest at the same time. Versus yellow, I usually like to try and play... Actually, I'm going to go ahead and play my Bakement here, just because Choke is a yellow card that kills things with 3 attack or less, so I really want my Disciple out of Choke range. Versus, if it was just green, I would have been fine with him being a 3-3, because they wouldn't have anything that could kill him at a 3-3. Given that's a pretty high investment into him now, so it's vulnerable to getting hit by Last Nightmare. But as he is a split color, he may not even be running Last Nightmares. Speak of the devil, there's Last Nightmare. So alright, so we need to start developing our deserts to start working towards Nightmare. And we're just going to sort of hang out and bide our time here. We'll start developing our land up towards him so we can get that Disciple in the action. No, we're doing Duelist at 5 for LW. I can't stomach the game's meta right now when I'm not in Team Wars. There's a fair amount of folks saying Duelist is in an okay spot right now. I think the game is in the second worst state it's ever been in. It is just not fun for me right now. Alright, Assassins are obnoxious, but not a real concern. We can ping it off with Destructive Volley here if we need to, so we're just gonna start working our way over there. But we'll be doing our Team Wars Duelist stream later today. I didn't want to play any more Duelist today than I had to, so we're doing our Faeria stuff early on and our Duelist later. I thought it was going to be the other way around, but schedules changed on us. Alright, so we're just slowly working our way over here. We'll kill that assassin later. There's no reason to kill it. Well, there is a reason to kill it right now, because it'll actually deny his mana globe. I usually prefer to try and hold off on my spells until I get a second Disciple. But, denying his mana is good. Plus, we didn't want any random movement shenanigans to happen and him to give it flying in charge and send it over to kill our Disciple, which is definitely possible with yellow. Alright, so this is appearing to be a Soul Eater deck, which is one of the decks I talked about earlier. Alright, so I need to make a decision here. Yep. Yes, event equals spell. Yeah. Number 54 is my rank. It's the same as the S-rank ladder. I was rank 30 before I started streaming today, but I'm always notoriously bad at streaming and playing, so I've tanked my rating a little bit, but that's okay. Alright, so I need to make some decisions here. I think we're just gonna... So I could develop 2 neutral lands, but I really want to start working towards Chaos, and of course these other thresholds here. So I think I'm just going to leave Aurora parked here for now, and I'm going to get my 3rd lake. And so now I have the option of developing either a 3rd desert or a 4th lake for whichever one of these I may need in the near future. Plus, next turn I can also drop Overmind, but yeah, for the moment I just want to sort of bide my time. I don't want to move my Disciple any closer because I don't want him to trade into it, the Demon Wing. Plus, because I've given my Disciple jump, it can move two spaces here. So I'm just going to keep it right here and bide my time. And that's what this deck is all about. It's all about, managing your resources, being patient, and waiting for the right time to do what you need to do. And I don't want to be spending any of my hard removal on something like a Demon Wing. I want to be saving it for this deck's big payoff, because this deck runs almost without a doubt as its main win condition is Soul Eater. Soul Eater is a 5-mana yellow-green card that gains +1/+1 for all your units that have died throughout the game. So it can very easily get absolutely massive. Alright, so we're gonna do some stuff this turn. Alright, do we want to go for... We're going to do a lot this turn. Yeah, we'll go for... Alright, so we're going to develop our 4th lake. Actually, maybe I don't want to do it that way. Alright, well I think I'm definitely going to drop my Magda back here. And then I'm going to go ahead and play my Overmind up here. And I'm going to go... Yes, it's a very good Frogify or Last Nightmare target, so I've been sort of... I screwed up. I should have gone for Last Nightmare rather than... I should have gone for my 3rd desert rather than my 4th lake there. So I could have killed that with Last Nightmare rather than Frogifying it. I mean, this is okay. It is not as good as I'd hoped for, though. Last Nightmare would have been a much better option because it would have kept him from taking damage, and you really just don't want him to take damage if you can avoid it. But, I mean, this is fine. You know, we're in a pretty good spot right now. Because, like, we just have some crazy long-term value generation going here, plus we have the answers for his Soul Eaters. Alright, so, well, we really wanted to save our nightmares for the inevitable Soul Eaters. We also really just want to make sure Kaios gets to do his effect this turn. So, we're going to go ahead and develop our last desert here. We'll go ahead and Last Nightmare this Wild Avenger. And then we're going to move Kaios up here for his devastating effect. So Corrupt is ability when the first time a creature moves onto one of your opponent's lands, it gets to do a thing. And in his case, he drains 1 life from everything and adds it to his own stats here. And he is also conveniently divine, which means he's untargetable, and his other effect is both a upside and a downside. It's how he gets such a massive attack, but the more damage he gets, the lower his attack gets. So it's a double-edged sword there, which is why I regretted using the Frogify earlier, because he could have been a little bit bigger right now. Although, to be fair, he ended up not attacking him with the frog, so it actually worked out really well for me, because the frog left me another target for him to drain. It did actually work out better, but it probably shouldn't have. If he wasn't... He's pretty low rank. You know, if he was a little bit higher rank, he would have probably beat up my Kaios a little bit more. But I think we have this game pretty well secured, because we have this Disciple in his face and Kaios here and removal in our hand. There really isn't much he can do at this point. This is pretty much over. In fact, I may just win this turn, because combination of Kaios and Disciple can just one-shot him. You know, if he puts down a body block, I'll kill it with Last Nightmare, and I'll hop my Disciple over there and just end the game. Yep, so that sounds like a Soul Eater. You can tell, because it always does that weird little flashing thing, because it gains stats. But nope, that is game, because I can hop here, and now that Kaios is sitting there, I can go ahead and place something here. We'll hop him over here. He tried to provoke Protect here. We can just kill that, which will go for even more overkill. And okay, I think he just surrendered because my game froze. Yep, he surrendered. No. So that was a pretty one-sided match there. You know, like, that's how the deck's supposed to function. I swear it's good, and it's got a near perfect win rate most of the time. But that's how it usually goes. Alright, so let's move on to some of my other stuff. I am going to go ahead and switch to casual, though, just because I'm tired of tanking my red. But alright, yeah, let's go ahead and do that math from that last game, what were the chances of me getting that garbage of a hand? Let's see. We lost on turn 6, which meant we went through. So our starting 3 hands, 3 cards. Then we had 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 more cards. Plus we actually less, because we were trying to replace those things and we found them anyways. So we actually technically went through less cards. Replacing a card in the mulligan phase isn't quite worth a full card, but it's worth roughly half a card. So well, the chances of that happening were just astronomically low. Like 10,000 trials, that didn't happen a single time. Wow. So we're talking less than 1 in 100,000 right now. Less than 1 in a million. Oh, okay, no. It won't let me do a bigger number than that. Yeah, the chances of that were just astronomically low. Like, we are talking decimals on decimals for me to have a hand that bad. That is just unreal. That is unreal. Okay, so that's some seriously bad luck that we drew 9 of the 9 cards we didn't want in that matchup. Like, that happens in... That was a 1 in a million game. I am not exaggerating. Alright. Let's move on along the line. Alright, so finally showed off how this deck is supposed to work. It's a strong master deck. Alright, let's move on. So the other deck that received pretty big overhaul was basically it was my first deck in the game, and sort of the deck I just played was this deck's natural successor. So this deck is not quite as strong, but it's the same principle. But instead of splitting it with yellow, it's just mono blue, which has its own appeals, but there aren't really many benefits for going mono blue rather than a split color, especially because of how the land system in this works. It's really not risky at all doing split colors, because you can just decide. I just use my laptop's motherboard mic. It's usually a pretty reasonably sound quality, but I hope it's not being a jerk and being rude. But normally I use my laptop's motherboard mic, one it came built in. Alright, so I don't think I really want to play this list today, because it's basically the same list I was just playing, just without the yellow tricks. Like, instead of Last Nightmare, we have Gabriel Warden, who's pretty neat. But yeah, it's a very strong list, but it's just a slightly weaker version of the list I just played. But it's kinder to those it's kinder to new players, because it's just a lot, as I said, I had this deck put together within my first couple days of playing the game. But I don't think we really need to play more another Disciple list, because they're basically the same. So, alright, let's move on down the line here. let's pull out my my Divine Bond deck. For those duelist fans, all of you should be familiar with the term Divine Bond. But if I have new people here, or only Faeria players, Divine Bond is a card in Duelist that gives a creature attack equal to its health. There happens to be a couple cards in Faeria that do a similar thing. Gabarian Enchantment gives a creature attack becomes equals to its life, as does Gabarian Enchantment. So they're not quite as good as Duelist Divine Bond, but they are also just better cards than Divine Bond because Gabarian costs less, draws you a card. Gabarian also has a good body. So it's, the principle's very, very simple. Play really high health units, then combo them with those, and just watch your opponent cry as you've dropped, 8/8s on turn 2 or 3 here. And it can get even bigger, because you've got your 8 health dude here, but you can also go ahead and give him some health buffs with Tiki Piper or Shamanic Dance. And I have gotten 20 critters that just one shot my opponent out of nowhere before. It's a really fun aggressive combo deck with let me queue up and then I'll talk about it. Do I want to queue into casual or do I want to queue into ranked? Now let's play some more ranked. This deck's really easy. My last deck was I should not have been playing ranked on stream with, but this one's pretty straightforward, which is also sort of a pun because the deck also builds straight, which in Faeria terms that means you build path to face. So as you saw happen to me a couple times, you just build straight down the center rather than building towards your Faeria gloves. All right, this is a pretty good hand. I think I'm going to keep this hand. This is really good. Just gonna hang tight with what I got. And so we're going to start with our lakes, because we want our forests placed close to the enemy shrine, and we can put our lakes back here where they don't do a whole lot. They're not in our way back here. We do need to get lakes here, plus we also don't want to tilt our hand that we're playing green yet. Alright, so we have another... Well, since he's also a Path to Face deck, we're just going to go ahead and develop our lake now. Or our forest now, draw a grizzly. Usually we try to get up to here before playing that grizzly, but since he went ahead and did us the kindness of just building that path for us, we'll just go ahead and play there. So now I'm going to go ahead and move up here. We're going to go ahead and... do I want to... Yeah, right. So we're going to build our lake so that we can use our enchantment. We're going to go ahead and throw down our Piper to buff up that grizzly. And I fucked up. Yay! I screwed up real bad. I forgot to count my mana. I thought, for some reason, I thought Tiki was 2 mana. Well, this is what I get for streaming and playing yet again. I thought I had them out as Tiki and Gabarian, but I'm a dumbass. Well, this is fine. Hopefully he'll not attack the Grizzly with Verdant, and we'll be fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Alright, so we'll go ahead and plop this here. So we can throw down our taunt unit just to keep his aggression off of us. And I now need to make a hard decision here. I may have screwed up again. Streamer's curse. Here I'm saying that this deck is such an easy deck to play, and it's going to be hard for me to screw up, and here I am screwing up left and right because I'm too busy talking to people. Alright, because I, again, didn't have the mana to use my Gabarian this turn. I really don't want to attack with my Grizzly, because then he'll lose all his Gabarian value. But if I don't, this is going to come over here and clear this Living Willow, and I'm going to take a lot of damage. But I think that's actually going to be worthwhile here. I have a second taunt. So I think it's going to be more worthwhile for me to try and bait him into sending this Willow to clear this so that he can go face. And that'll work out for me really well in the long run, because that'll keep my Grizzly topped off. He'll be able to get in there, and I'll be able to Gabarian him at the right time. And then I can stave off his aggression with my taunts in a minute here. Yes, I probably should stop talking. But I think this is going to work out. Ah, even better. He didn't move the Verdant over where I couldn't taunt it. Good stuff. Alright, I need to double check my deck for its land thresholds. Do I have any other land thresholds I'm worried about? Okay, Frog Tosser, but... Alright, I'm less concerned about Frog Tossing and more concerned about staying alive. So let's go ahead and get our taunt down. And now let's Gabarian our Grizzly while it's at maximum value here. And while I wanted to clear the way for my Grizzly to get in there and do work. Oh, that has taunt. I have no choice. Ooh. Yeah, I may have thoroughly screwed this matchup. Because if he has a buff for that force, I'm in trouble. Because he can clear this Living Willow with Verdant and Yak. And then if he can buff his force, I'm dead. But he only has one card in hand, so there's a pretty good chance I'll live through the turn. And if I live through the turn, I can likely recover here. Oh, he's going to go after my Grizzly. Alright, I'm actually in very good shape. Those taunts are definitely obnoxious. He's playing like the opposite deck that I am. He's playing the high attack, low health, taunty green deck, and I'm playing the complete opposite high health. This is just somewhat humorous here. Well, I would certainly like my Grizzly to live through the turn. But it's a little bit too risky to... I just need to think for a moment here. So I can gain a mana and Octopus, or I can just Living Willow again. Living Willow is a safe choice. Alternatively, I could get really ballsy and try to keep my Grizzly alive. Whew, do I take a risk? Yeah, let's take a risk. So we can Octopus next turn. Alright, so we're going to take a risk. We're going to keep my Grizzly alive. Because I need to play to win and play to not lose. You know, I made some mistakes early on, so I'm playing from the back foot now. But Maybe that wasn't worth it since he was still able to kill it. Nah, it wasn't worth it. Well, looks like I've lost this one. No. And again, this one's mostly my fault. I could have definitely played it a little bit better. Can I stave off the inevitable here? Like, I have taunts, but... Nope, there is no way for me to survive the turn, unfortunately. Alright, well, let's try that again. Hopefully I won't screw it up so bad. I should really just switch to casual while I'm streaming, but I don't wanna. It's a matter of principle at this point. While I'm playing my top tier God rank decks that have been tearing up the ladder, I'm gonna stay on rank despite that I'm streaming. I'm gonna play until I win with this deck, and then I'll switch off to some of my less played decks and go to casual. We're going to win a game with this deck like it's supposed to work instead of just screwing it up. Yeah, because that match was definitely winnable if I didn't keep miscounting my mana and getting aggressive there. So, mistakes happen. Generally on stream, and you can't win them all. Although that one would have been a tough game, even if I did play it correctly. Just, he got his aggression going a lot faster than I did. Now, my hand was pretty good. Like, I had a really nasty hand, but, he didn't make mistakes, and I made a lot of mistakes. If I'd played that game right, it could have gone either way. So, we've had quite the variance in types of games to play today. We had a game I absolutely should have won, but I screwed it up really bad, and it was entirely my fault I lost. I had a game that was literally 1 in a million chance of me getting a hand as bad as I did. Like, not exaggerating, we did the math. It was literally 1 in a million chance of me drawing as poorly as I did. I should have very easily been able to win it, but 1 in a million chance of as poor a hand as I got, and I did make a mistake in that game as well. Then we had a game where I just utterly crushed my opponent, uncontested. It was disgusting. Then we had another screw-up. And that brings us to now. Alright, so again, we're going to build Path to Face, but how we do that does depend on what our hand's looking like here. Generally, you want to place our forest aggressively and our pawn passively. So I am going to start with 1 forest, or with 1 lake, and we'll just keep it simple there. And the next turn we'll probably go explore, forest, grizzly. Maybe we won't play the grizzly. We'll see. Maybe we won't tilt our hand. Decisions. And these early decisions are really important. They do often make or break the game. I don't need another pond. I am going to need 2 forests. Let's not tilt our hand with the explorer. Yeah, alright, so let's just play our forest now. And then next turn we'll explore and play our second forest with Grizzly. Just going to hang tight for now. We don't have any of our combo cards yet, which is unfortunate. You notice I did replace everything in my hand, is because the main key to the deck is finding your enchantresses and enchantments. Because when you don't find, even when you don't find those, grizzlies and octopuses are still just beat sticks that do okay. But Alright. Hey, good. We got our enchantment just... Well, actually, we still had one more turn to find it, but we are doing alright. So, another big key to this deck is you don't want to spend your buffs or your combos before you're ready to trade. Because if I do, I risk, getting frogified or something like that. So we're just going to hang tight. We're happy with what we got. Given he can't frogify me next turn, so there's a pretty good chance I'll just go full wombo combo on his face just to really put the pressure on. Ooh, and now that he developed a second Humbling Vision, I may still go for wombos. Oh, well, never mind. He has actually managed to kill my Grizzly. Alright. But because he can't frogify next turn? I am going to go for my wombo combo here. It's a little unfortunate. I wanted a forest here, not a pond, but we're going to have to make do. And yeah, so we're just going to go for our wombo. Make this thing absolutely massive. Because if I didn't do it this turn, he'd be able to trade into it while it had one attack and, make it to where my Gabarian wouldn't be useful. So while this does put me at a little bit of risk of getting frogified soon, this puts a lot of pressure on him. Like, a lot. Plus, I have another Gabarian in hand and another Tiki, so even if this does get frogified, I'm going to be able to just make another giant Titan-esque critter very soon here. Frog Tosser will help clear the way for me in the very near future here. Let's see, do I want to develop another lake or another forest? Well, let's go for the lake just because we may need the Frogify in the near future here. So we're just going to go ahead and take our time. Again, he may not even be running Frogify. If he's not running Frogify, he could be in a lot of trouble because next turn I'm going to be able to just Frog Tosser whatever's sitting here and move this up in for the, well, not the kill, but pretty close. I mean, it only takes 2 shots from that thing to get the job done. And with 4 green and 2 blue, I can't think of any hard removal that will answer this right now. Well, okay, I guess another of the Humbling Visions would help. Well, his taunts are keeping me at bay, but it's only a matter of time. Alright, well, let's see. How do I want to go about this? So I definitely... Let's make a... Let's make another... Let's start developing a forest over by our globes. Just so that we can, get some Tiki sitting back there in the near future here. So we're going to start setting up our long-term globe harvesting. We're now ready to go for the Frog Tosser, but do I want to? Yeah, we're going to go for the Frog Tosser. So we're going to Frog Toss the Elemental, which will clean it up for us. And then we'll go ahead and clear the Stalker, and because this is my land, there's nothing he can do to block the Living Willow from punching him in the face next turn. I do need to decide if I want to Tiki my Frog Tosser. Yeah, let's go ahead and Tiki the Frog Tosser. Because that way I can, grab a globe with Tiki next turn. Unless he kills it with Morphe, but, that's fine. Yep, we're in good shape. Frog Tosser doesn't die to Stalker now, and I can very nearly just finish him off. Let's see. Okay, I won't be able to kill him this turn, but I should be able to do a lot of damage, even if he does have a Provoke. Is he going to make it to his Frogify off of his Elemental? Is he even running Frogify? Oh, he's got Frog Tosser. I ain't going to cut it. He is still going to take this 11 damage from Willow, and that's going to be pretty hard to come back from. Oh, he didn't body block the Frog Tosser either. Alright, so decisions. Let's go ahead and make our 4th lake just for long-term Frogifies if we need it. Grab a globe. I think we're for sure going to punch this in the face with Living Willow. And we may as well hit this with Frog Tosser as well. That way we may be able to just surprise. And I think I'm going to drop one of my Octopus here with its taunt option, just to protect my Willow a little bit. Alternatively, I could Destructive Volley the Frog Tosser, but let's go for the Frog. So we can give our... So Octopus is a really cool modular card that you have a lot of choices. So he can give himself 7 health, which is perfect for Faeria, or he has other options like Jump, or Taunt, or just buffing his attack for when you don't have Gabarians. And yeah, this is not looking good for our opponent here. He is in a pretty bad spot right now. Even if he does have a Frogify, I don't think he can survive this turn. And with how slowly he's been developing lakes, I don't think he's even running Frogifies. Like, I think he's only running the blues for the Frog Tosser and the Lore Thieves, so that's why he was just sticking at 2 blue, and he only got a 3rd just because he happened to drop an Elemental. And because Living Willow also has Taunt, he can't even, move his Water Elemental over there to try and clear the Octopus. So he's just in a pretty bad spot. Creation? Okay, well that might give him a Taunt, but I don't think a Taunt is going to save him. Especially since if I draw out a Frogify, like, I can just deal with whatever he puts down. Oh, he's copying his Frog Tosser. That is a fun tactic, but... oh, maybe he will live through the turn. Okay, well, how about that? Gonna live through with... Well, if he doesn't damage this Frog Tosser, I'll just kill him with the enchantment. If he doesn't damage it, it's over. He has to attack. Come on, man. I want a good... I really wanted just a good game. It's more fun to win. That's a shame. Well, I guess we'll take the easy win. If he'd attacked, like, he should have known I was playing my Gabarians and whatnot. But well, it was looking pretty grim for him either way there. All right, so that's how the deck's supposed to work when you don't royally screw it up. All right, so pop-ups. All right, so that's enough of that. Okay, so let me go ahead and let's switch to casual, and we'll pull out my latest edition. Well, actually, okay, not my latest edition. My latest addition was the deck I was playing early on, which was my yellow-blue Disciple Control, which is my new favorite these days. So this is my second latest addition to my God rank lists, which is my own take on, well, one of my own takes on Soul Eater list. Soul Eater is probably my favorite card in the game. Just look at that thing. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's all about like death and necromancy, and it's also just ridiculously overpowered if you can build around it right. So, you know, so Soul Eater. Well, let me go ahead and queue up while I yak at you guys. All right, switching to casual so that when I inevitably start screwing up here while I'm talking about, because I'm all excited about this deck, I won't tank my rating any more than I already have here. So, yeah, Soul Eater is super cool. Like, he gains +1/+1 for each friendly creature that has died this game while in your hand or deck, although not while on the field. And so, to accomplish that, we run a bunch of little cheap dudes that will die pretty easily on their own, but more importantly, they provide sacrifice fodder for Demon Wrangler, for Shaitan Assassin, and Doomgate, the other super cool card in the deck, which has further synergy with Bone Collector, plus all of our little dudes. Either, you know, leave a body behind when they die, or add something to our hand, that way we don't run out of card and board presence while trying to build up our Soul Eaters. So it's a really, really cool, strong deck. It can just play super defensively and bide its time while building up its Soul Eaters, which tends to roll over the majority of lists. But it does have a couple weaknesses. Like, it's definitely a God rank list, but it doesn't have any like long range hard removal. So people that play backline value generators, like really big ranged units or stuff like Magda, can give this deck a bad time. But luckily, those are pretty rare because most of the other meta decks can deal with them really well. So the deck's biggest weakness just doesn't show up very much. And the only other weakness is, you know, you are pretty reliant on Soul Eaters. Well, this isn't really a weakness because the deck has lots of ways to win. Like, Soul Eater's the real obvious one, Doomgate's a hilarious one, and, you know, Bone Collector can also just spiral out of control real easy, and, you know, should all of that fail, you know, just 5/2 flyers can get the job done. There's just no amount of removal is going to stop this deck. Removal only makes this deck stronger. Because if your opponent is spending their entire turn playing stuff like Last Nightmare to kill your stuff, that's fine. Like, alright, you killed one of my units. That will just make my next one stronger, and you also did nothing on your turn. So, like, it rolls over slower control decks, like, no problem. And it does a pretty good job of defending against aggressive decks because all you have to do is defend. Like, you just have to, you know, hang out around your base, plop a whole bunch of meat shields down, and defend. Because Soul Eaters, they have flying and charge 3, so they just go across the board and murder your opponent. Doomgate does the same. Doomgate does the same thing. Ostrogoth is a 13/13 flying rush charge 13. He's pretty rude if you manage to pull him off. So you can just win from your side of the field, no problem. You can just place. God, this queue is taking forever. Ah, there we go. Just play super defensively, and, you know, you've also got Imperial Guard and Lady of Sorrows for some heals to stave off burn. Alright, this is a pretty solid hand. I'd prefer to have a more proper opening play, but this is good. Like, we have our strong defensive removal, we have sacrifice fodder, we have something to use with our sacrifice fodder. We don't have an opening play. Technically, we could open with Demon Wrangler, but you really want to use this effect, not just summon him for the globe value. I'm going to go ahead and start with the desert, because we will need 2 deserts rather sooner than we will need 2 forests. So looks like the plan so right now is just to go we'll play desert, then we'll play forest, and then next turn we'll play Rakoan and Demon Wrangler. Well, maybe not actually. It's you don't really want to. If you Demon Wrangler your Rakoan, you lose his second body. So I'll probably just hang tight actually. Alright, let's just bide our time. We're in no rush here. And we'll just drop our Rakoan here for some long-term, he's going to start globe harvesting in the near future here. And then next turn, we may be able to go ahead and play Demon Wrangler and Assassin at the same time. That'll be pretty nifty. Because we'll Assassin first to sacrifice his first body, and then we'll sacrifice his second body with Demon Wrangler. Although, we may go ahead and Deepwood Stalker that, because that's an obnoxious problem. Alright, so we want our... okay, no, we need our second forest, actually, for Deepwood Stalker, so that does definitely change our game plan a bit here. But that's okay. So we'll nip that problem in the bud before it starts pulling up value, and we'll just bide our time, because I really don't want to lose my second Rakoan body. So we'll just hang out, as this deck does. We are in no rush. Eridon. Ooh, Bone Collector. That also widens our options a bit here. Alright, so let's make our desert. Let's play our Bone Collector. And then let's Demon Wrangler. Yeah, we'll just Demon Wrangler the Deepwood Stalker. That will work out fine. Okay. So Bone Collector is one of our other nifty early game win conditions, given we usually don't win the game with him, but he eats up hard removal for our late game stuff. So Bone Collector is really cool. He just gets bigger and bigger every time something around him dies. And we have a lot of ways to make that happen. Now, he's likely just going to bring this down here to kill the Rakoan, but yeah, that's fine by me. We'll probably go ahead and just trade with Bone Collector, because combination Bone Collector and Rakoan will get the job done here. Another Bone Collector. Well, I know I'm going to move this up here. I know that's happening. The question is, do I want to play another Bone Collector. Yeah, I think I do. Alright, so let's play another Desert. Let's play our other Bone Collector. Grab this. And then we're going to go ahead and assassin our Cohen here. And we'll bring this up. Clear that, which it will survive doing. And there we go. We're in good shape. So Assassin's super cool. It has Death Touch, which does exactly what it sounds like. I've been playing less than a month. I'm currently fluctuating between like rank 20 and rank 60 for the top of the ladder here. We're in a pretty good spot, and the fact that he's so far mono green means he has no actual hard removal even available to him, meaning the our late game soul eaters are just gonna wreck him. Oh yeah, Faeria is a lot of fun, and it's winter sale right now, so if you're gonna get into it, now is definitely the time. We are nearly to our necessary land threshold. After we get our third green, we can just go for draw and mana as needed. Here's my thread of my collection of decks so far, in case you didn't see it posted on my Twitch page there. Alright, so let's go ahead and develop our final forest here, just so I can start moving this assassin over to get in the action. Let's go ahead and... Actually, okay, so we're going to kill the Stalker with Bone Collector, and then we'll kill that Spirit of Rebirth before it gains any more value in his hand for him. Do I want to play any of these guys? Yeah, sure, we'll play the Boom Sprite. Not really much sense in... I mean, it only took me a couple weeks, given I did buy the premium, and I played a lot, because I had a couple slow weeks at work, so I was just able to just sit there and play all day at work. But no, I had a full collection, expansions included, only a couple weeks in. It doesn't take long at all, which is as it should be, because as a buy-to-play game, you should really be getting what you're paying for. It's not that obnoxious, grindy, free-to-play model. It's just, here, you should have a full collection playing even casually within about a month. Well, with premium. If you didn't get premium, and you play super casually, you should still have a full collection within like 2 months. This deck is super rude because unless you're one of its counters, it tends to just roll over you. It just wins so many games uncontested. It's pretty gross. But again, it does have some weaknesses, as I've mentioned. And there's my Soul Eater. Alright, I'll answer your question in a minute here. Alright, so how to go about this? Alright, let's start moving this over. How big is our Soul Eater? So the big thing is, I usually like to play Soul Eater once it is a 10-10. Let's go ahead and draw a card. Alright, so let's move this up here. Just start getting Bone Collector value. Alright, he is big enough. Alright, what did we draw after that? You made your Return a creature to its original attack and life. Hey, yeah, that'll work. Let's move this over into the action. Oh, you're a creature. Cool. Right. The reason I didn't recognize that is because when Bloom Sprite dies, it adds a random green card to your hand. Soul Eater's still not quite as big as we want it. But Bone Collector's doing a lot of work. Do I want to play my Leia? Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, I've got more mana than I know what to do with right now, so let's just go ahead and get another body out on the field. And very, very soon we'll be ready for Soul Eater value here. I like to have him at a 10-10 so he can two-shot the opponent. Alright, so to answer your question, yeah, I've been playing all kinds of games for ages. You know, I played Magic for many, many, many years. I did a little bit of a competitive circuit in Magic. You know, I was the king of the local games. I qualified for regionals a couple times, but I never got to go to anything like that. I've always hated standard formats. I always played Eternal, like either be it Legacy, Modern, or EDH. Made some waves there, but I sort of retired from Magic after I found Duelist. And I got into Duelist basically when it came out, and I pretty much haven't played Magic since then, other than casually with my friends, although none of my friends usually really want to play Magic with me, because they aren't quite as competitive. Alright, I really want to... Well, let's go ahead and draw a card. Doomgate. Alright, that's always fun. Crap. I shouldn't have played that on my desert, because now I can't play my assassin. This is fine. This is fine. We'll just make a bad play instead of a good play. Because I really wanted to play my Soul Eater this turn. Alright, now that he's at his nice sweet spot 10-10, we're all ready to go here. Now, standard is just a giant money-grubbing scheme. There is nothing good about it, but I'll try not to go into a long rant about rotating formats. Suffice to say, I think they are evil. They are an evil, pointless money-grubbing scheme, and there is nothing good about them. But if you really want the long version of that, well, here, I won't talk about it. I will send you a giant wall of text that you can read or not read at your leisure. Let's go ahead and just toss this down for reasonable Doomgate target. I don't really need its fighting ability. I'll draw a card. Demon Wrangler. Not really in a rush to play these things. Yeah, we'll just hang tight. Alright, so let's just go hit that there. See, I firmly disagree with that argument, that Standard is kinder to new players. I do not think that is true at all. I'll just let myself rope out there. Alright, yeah, that guy's just surrendering. Like, he knows there's nothing that can be done. This deck is really gross because there are a lot of decks, including top-tier meta decks, that have basically zero chance against this list. And so it's really rude, but I don't make it my go-to because it does have a couple big weaknesses. You know, again, like I talked about, you know, backline value generators can really give this deck a bad time. I do firmly I disagree with this pretty firmly. But let me go ahead and just pull that up. Here you go. Well, assuming Twitch doesn't have some sort of character limit, I'm going to just send you my... Okay, look at that awful wall of text. I'm sorry. Maybe I should have PM'd it to you. No, I don't think there is a single good thing about rotations. I understand. The only good thing about rotations is it is easier on developers to balance. That's it. I don't think there is any other benefit, and if your job is to make a game, your job is to balance that game. Rotations are just a money-grubbing scam because they let people print new things, which encourages people to buy more money, and I will let you read it if you want to. In the meantime, I will go back to talking about Faeria and current collection. So it's a really, really rude list. You know, it's definitely earned its spot in my God ranking list. It's not my go-to though, because while it does win a lot of games fairly uncontested, I've never liked playing the matchup game like that. Like, I don't care that this deck on paper is going to have a phenomenal win rate, because I really just hate automatically losing to a bad matchup. I would rather play a deck that isn't going to just automatically win games, but isn't going to automatically lose games either. And, given I am talking a little bit extreme, obviously a good player can beat this deck, and I can beat its bad matchups, but yeah, that is it's very strong, but I don't like it because it's sort of a polarized list. But it's definitely a good deck, and if you love Soul Eater as much as I do, it's a really competitive way to play the list. Alright, so moving on here. Let's see. So we played Divine Bond. We played our Offering. We played Royal Edict. We skipped Aquamancy because it's basically the same as this list, just not quite as good. Let's go ahead and pull out my For the Swarm list. It didn't get as overhauled as some of my other decks, but I did make a couple small changes. Mainly, I crammed Destructive Volley and Imperial Guard in there, sort of my two go-to crutch staples that go in a lot of my decks because they are just so good at dealing with the meta of the day. Destructive Volley is recognized as excellent tech, but most people think Imperial Guard. Alright. So, here's the thing about that. An Eternal format is usually cheaper, both short-term and long-term, than a rotating format. This is because, A, you have a larger options to build a strong budget deck. B, you don't have to throw your stuff away occasionally and buy new things. C, rotating formats do this weird thing of really pumping up the value of cards that otherwise wouldn't have value. Like, you'll see it. You'll see people that like play Magic the Gathering economy and sort of make a living off of it. Is, you know, they'll get the cards that are really strong in standard, and they'll sell them for 10 times their worth, and then once they rotate out of standard, they'll drop like rocks. In an Eternal format, there's no artificially inflated prices for cards, so you could actually just buy a good deck for a reasonable cost. So not only do you not have to throw away your cards and buy new stuff, you also have more options to create a good budget deck, and there's no artificial inflation. In every feasible way, Eternal formats tend to be way cheaper. In every way. And then the other big thing is, you know, people saying it's easier on new players. I don't think so. I really don't think it is. A new player's biggest hurdle is trying to learn the basic mechanics. Like, once you understand the basic mechanics, you don't need to know every single card in the game. You just need to be like, all right, I want to make a control deck. All right, so let me search for some control cards. All right, sure, there may be 50 options, but I'll just pick the cheapest ones. Easy enough. Okay, so now I've got my control cards. I need a win condition. I'll just go ahead and Google, you know, strong win condition for this, these colors. And there you go. You did 10 minutes and half the price. Like, you don't need to know the entire card pool to build a good deck. You can also just, you know, net deck. Like, all of the learning is about learning the mechanics and learning, you know, the various balances, and, you know, you'll learn the matchups over time. But the thing about a rotating format is, by the time you are familiar enough with the game and all that stuff, by the time you have played enough to know the matchups, rotating's over. Time to start over. And now everything you've learned is actually useless. Whereas in Eternal format, that continues to be useful. There's no benefit, either money-wise or for new players. Like, a large card pool is not unfriendly to a new player. In every way, it's a good thing. It means you have more options, more customization, cheaper options, and you don't need to know the entire card pool to do well. And because it's an Eternal format, a deck that is good will stay good, unlike rotating formats where everything's a crapshoot and changes constantly and everything gets outdated. And so that's another weird thing about Magic, and that actually doesn't apply to most modern games. But the other reason, you know, Eternal format Magic decks are so expensive is because Magic has done this weird thing where they have pumped up value of old cards by not reprinting them and that kind of stuff. So, you know, the big thing is dual lands. And this is why Legacy decks are so expensive. And this is why... And so, you know, while I like Legacy, it's not that great a format. It's not super well balanced, although the ban list goes a long way, and it is expensive. But Modern and EDH, you can buy a top-tier deck for dirt cheap. Like, yeah, maybe you won't be the absolute best deck in the game, but, you know, that's okay. Like, the gap between, like, the best deck in the game and the next 30 that are under it are pretty small, and honestly it just comes down to really just matchup and personal preference and player skill. So again, the thing that the cost of legacy decks and Magic is artificially high, and B, you can still just build a budget deck. Like, there are plenty of ways to be very competitive in even legacy Magic without shelling out. And maybe you shouldn't play a 5-color deck. Maybe play a monocolor deck. That way because most of the expenses for Magic decks is in land. Like, that's the biggest expense. But if you're just running 20 swamps, well, your deck's now pretty cheap. And assuming a game has a crafting system and it's not just gambling, you're in good shape. I've always detested card packs. I've never bought Magic packs. I've always thoroughly researched the deck I'm going to make, and then I go buy the cards I want directly. Which, while Magic doesn't support it, it's been around so long, it's pathetically easy to do so. And again, that's just because Magic is an ancient game owned by Wizards / what's the toy company? Wizards / the toy company. Can't remember the name. So they're trying to squeeze every penny out of their big old game as possible. But modern games, especially digital games, they don't have those problems. They have crafting systems. They have the ability to balance cards on the fly. There is no benefit to rotations. Like, it is just an old money-grubbing scam that is popular because it is old and people are familiar with it, and it's been marketed. And marketing is everything. That's why Standard even still exists. It's because Wizards of the Coast markets it. They advertise, they host tournaments for it, they pay game shops to host Friday Night Magic. It's not because it's a good format. No, it's awful. It's because it is marketed and people just don't know any better. Like, if you actually do any kind of research, all of the arguments that defend Standard are really flimsy and weak. They really are. But anyways, sorry for ranting. You happened to bring up a bit of a touchy, passionate subject there. But thanks for stopping by, and I'm glad to have earned your follow. Have a good night, man. All right, well, back to Faeria, assuming I didn't lose all my other viewers by ranting about rotations and Magic the Gathering. Let's get back into this. So back to what I was talking about before we got sidetracked. My For the Swarm deck. It hasn't gotten a major overhaul since my last stream, but I have improved it. Again, Destructive Volley and Imperial Guard, I made room for them, and they made the deck way better. So let's go ahead and pull that out. I'll talk about the deck a little bit once it is queuing up. Alright, so this deck is all about this card right here. Swarming Carausius. When you summon it, you get to summon an extra one for every time a swarm has died. Pretty simple. So it can spiral out of control really easy, especially when you can make multiples of them. So you can very easily, there's an achievement in the game for summoning 20 of these guys in a single turn, and it is quite doable with Aurora's creation. So the biggest thing, Swarming is a little bit of a weird card that is difficult to build around because it starts as very low value, a 4 mana 3/2 is just not good. Even a Form 2 3/2 4 mana cards are still not that good. It's not usually good until the third one you've summoned. So it makes the card really awkward and slow. Plus, if you don't draw it in the early game, it's just going to be too slow in the late game. But there are ways to make this incredibly consistent, and Curious Biomancer is the other big key to this deck. So, his effect's pretty simple. For each enemy, draw a random non-blue creature from your deck. But I only have 5 non-blue creatures in this deck, so it's not really random at all. That being Swarming Carius and... oh no! Actually, I have made a mistake. I recently put Imperial Guard in here, but that's actually a massive mistake. He can't be in this list because he messes up Biomancers. The whole point of this list was having only the 5 non-blue creatures. Well, I need to revise this again. Whoops. I need to... well, I was thinking about trying to fit... I was considering... okay, actually, we're going to do some on-the-fly revising here. Usually I do my deck building off the screen. I was thinking of a variant for the list. Alright, so yeah, I need to take Imperial Guard out of this list, because he's actually going to mess the deck up big time. Alright, so... Modify... Water Elemental... So... definitely, I mean, because even with the deck being hyper consistent thanks to the ability to very reliably get Swarming Carius very early on between Biomancer and Lore Thief, you are still ultimately a little slow and your early game's pretty weak, so you need to be prepared. So I definitely like to have my healing, so Soul Drain, and Last Nightmare. I ended up, originally I had Soul Drain in the list instead of Imperial Guard, but I ended up cutting it just because it was tough trying to develop as much land. Like with Soul Drain and Carius and Frogify, it was requiring me to have 7 land to hit all my thresholds. So I was trying to rejigger that a little bit so I didn't have quite as high of land thresholds. Where is the card I'm looking for? Where is Last Nightmare? It's totally called Last Nightmare, right? There it is. Yeah, it was Last Nightmare. I don't know why it didn't show up. Alright, so by trading Frogify for Last Nightmare, that means I need 1 less lake, although that does mean I need 2 more nightmares. I decided to cut out the Soul Drain because I was trying to cut down to only needing 4 lakes, 1 yellow, 1 green for a 6 land threshold. But if I'm going Last Nightmare and Aurora's Creation, that means I am going to be stuck at the 7 land threshold no matter what, because I'll need 3 blue, 3 yellow, and 1 green. Although Last Nightmare is a lot faster to get to land-wise than Frogify. So I do think this is going to be a better option just because Imperial Guard is going to screw the list up. So I have 2 choices here. I can either, do this right here, which will work, which will leave me with the 7 land threshold, which really isn't that bad, especially with the elemental in here. But if I can find another good way. Mic is too loud. Alright, sorry, I'll fix that. That better? Can you still hear me? That better? Alright, so back to the task at hand. So this could be the change I want to make. I could call it done there, but I would also like to explore an option that isn't as land taxing. So let's go ahead and just look at all of our life gain / taunt options, keeping in mind that I cannot run another non-blue creature in the deck, or it's going to screw up the deck's consistency big time. Let's check healing options first, but Soul Drain and Last Nightmare are pretty dang good here. But let's go ahead and see if there's any options I've overlooked or forgotten. Alright, so I guess I need to... So I'm going to... Alright, so that's all of the blue cards that deal with life. Dreamweaver's not going to happen. None of these are useful. I'm going to just go ahead and untick creatures here because I can't have any other creatures that aren't blue. So let's see. Do we have any other good life gain options within our colors or neutral here? We don't want to make 2 green. I'd much rather make 2 deserts for soul drains than I would that. We already have command. Healing Song's really just not that good. I mean, it is a big heal, but it is card draw. It's not bad, but again, Soul Drain is just a better card. Alright, so there really isn't a good substitute to Soul Drain for life gain. The other alternative is... Well, it can't be a green creature, because that'll screw the deck up. Vine Wall technically would work, but again, we don't want to make 2 green, so let's stop even looking at green. Oh, okay, we could run Hold the Line, because Hold the Line will give us a bunch of Imperial Guards, but won't mess with Biomancer. Alright, so it looks like I'm just going to have 2 versions of the deck. I'm going to have a Hold the Line blue version and a Soul Drain version, and I'll have to test them both out to see which feels better. Like, I do like Soul Drain and Nightmare. I think they are just definitely stronger cards than going for Frogify and Hold the Line. Although Shimmering Statue's in option as well, because it's both. No, I do prefer my Imperial Guards to Shimmering Statue. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have a 7-land threshold, Soul Drain, Nightmare. I mean, Soul Drain and Last Nightmare are just really good cards. This is probably going to be the better version, but there are 2 neat options here. The other thought is, using a bigger provoke unit, like, Shifting Octopus is just actually a really, really good card, and we will happen to have the land for him no problem. So Shifting Octopus is another option. Overhold the Line for the blue variant anyways. Shifting Octopus does actually give us a more early game proactive play too. I like the heal from Hold the Line though, just because burn decks are a problem, and Shifting Octopus is, while a better card, we need the heals, and if we're cutting, given we do have Emperor's Command, so we're okay on that front. But I think I'd prefer Hold the Line over Shifting Octopus. It is definitely a little bit more mana taxing, but because we'd get a 3/5 taunt for 4 mana versus a 2/3 taunt for 4 mana. But we do get a second one, which is a pretty big deal. And the alternative is, just a big thing, but I don't really want a big thing. We're not running red at all, so that's not an option. And these guys are not blue, so they won't fit. Okay, so yeah, I think we do just have 2 versions of the deck. We have the Soul Drain version, which is probably the way to go. I was thinking about making that anyways. And then we'll have the Frogify Hold the Line option, which isn't a big change. It's just trading Imperial Guard into Hold the Line, which is probably actually what I meant to do initially, and then just sort of like saw the Imperial Guard and threw them in. And I'm glad I realized that before I queued up into game, because Imperial Guard would really mess the deck up. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go try out the Last Nightmare variant, because I think that is going to be the stronger version. So let me go ahead and fix that in client. I'll fix it on the forums later. I don't think anybody really has been reading my forum post anyways. Sorry about the... I guess it's not quite a technical difficulty, but it's a more talking and deck building rather than playing. But hey, deck building's fun. I like deck building, but I know not everyone else wants to sit around and watch someone build decks. I've just gotta find it in here. There you are. Alright, so Frogify out. Imperial Guard out. You are never supposed to be in there in the first place, Imperial Guard. And now we'll just get our Soul Drain and Nightmare in here. That is probably going to be the way to go. Let's go ahead and get queued up so I can, tinker with the forms or keep yakking at you guys while it's queuing. Ah, crap. It changed the picture on me again. I'll fix that later. Alright, let me go ahead. I think I'm just going to go ahead and officially make the change for the... because Hold the Line is... it's really not a bad card, but Soul Drain is just... Soul Drain and Last Nightmare are just better options. I think I am going to officially make that change on the forum. I'll test the Hold the Line variant later, but I'm pretty sure the Last Nightmare variant is going to be the way to go here. The big thing is Last Nightmare is a little bit more mana taxing than Frogify is. And, the deck does get pretty tight on mana, but so there may still be merit to the Hold the Line variant. Well, Frogify variant. Hold the Line isn't the big difference. Hold the Line is a necessary card rather than a good card. The big difference is Frogify versus Last Nightmare, because we really don't have the room for both, that's for sure. Looks like we found a game. So I'll go ahead and make that, and I'll change my change log later. Don't need Chaos this early on. We really just need to dig for our Swarm and Biomancer as hard as we can. Lore Thief's never bad to see, because that helps us dig. So we're going to start making lakes for our Lore Thieves. Okay. Don't have the mana to Lore Thief and Elemental. I'm going to go for the Elemental over here. Yeah, alright, so we're going to start developing our desert, since we may need it for Last Nightmare. And we'll pop a lake over there. That way we can plop down our Lore Thief for long-term globe harvesting on that side. I want the Lore Thief on the side my opponent isn't developing. That way he can sit by a globe that isn't likely to be contested. Hey, there's my Biomancer. Don't forget Lore Thief. Let's go for Biomancer. Well, no, he's only got one creature on the board. We really want to get more than one draw off of Biomancer. So let's go ahead, and before we make any major decisions here, let's draw our cards off of Lore Thief and see where that gets us. Oh, well, we found a Swarm anyways. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and develop another desert. That way we now have the option to go to 3 desert or 3 blue as needed. And let's go ahead and move our water elemental up to where it is contesting that globe as well. Now I could play a Biomancer now, but there's really not much benefit in doing so. So I think we're likely just going to play our first Swarm next turn. And then we'll follow up with the Biomancer once he has some more stuff on board. He's pulling it back. He's afraid of my water elemental. Silly him. There's no buffs in this deck. Yeah. Although, do we have the mana for both Swarming and Biomancer? Yeah, we do, but... Let's see, we have 5 non-blue minions. We have 1 in hand. I'd rather just draw everything off of a single Biomancer, and we don't need to put a Biomancer on the field because we don't need the body right now. So let's just go ahead and toss out our first Swarm here and pull our Elemental back. That way he can't just gap close with the Grizzly. And we're just going to conserve our mana now because we're in no rush. We really want to get maximum Biomancer value and just bide our time here. And we have everything we need in hand, so we don't need these Lore Thieves. I mean, well, that's not. I guess we could still use a Aurora's Creation, but at this point we just want to conserve our mana. You know, our main goal of getting Swarms has been achieved, and we are very likely just going to be able to get everything we need. We're very likely going to draw 4 cards off of a single Biomancer and not need this other Biomancer at all. Plus, that deck thin is going to be huge, and it's going to make finding the creations pretty easy. But, you know, we'll play a Biomancer for 2 if we have to, just because we want to make sure we play another swarm next turn. Ideally, we'll at least get to draw 3, but we'll do it for 2 if need be. Alright, well, looks like we're going to go ahead and do it for 2 here. Let's start setting up our... We'll put a Biomancer over here, just because we can. It's going to still keep hanging back. And we'll play our next swarm here. Do I want to move my elemental up? Yeah, why not? And, you know, at this point it's starting to look pretty bad for him. We'll likely have to play our other Biomancer here, but that's just fine. You know, once this swarm engine is rolling, there is just not much your opponent can do about it. And we're almost at our full land threshold, too. One desert away from that being all the land we need. Yeah, it is a lot easier getting the Last Nightmare than it is Frogify. I think this is a good choice. Oh, and there's an Aurora. Good stuff. Let's see. We need to play, and this Biomancer is going to really top off our hand. So let's. All right, we need our last desert here. It'd been nice to kill the Beastmaster this turn, but that's not going to happen. Let's go ahead and cash in our Elemental. And then we'll play our next Biomancer, and that will draw the rest of our non-blue creatures out of the deck. Although I do have to make a tough decision this turn. This is my last swarm, so I need to make sure I get to use creation on it. But as he has mono green, he doesn't have any AoE, so if he was red, I wouldn't do this. But as he is not, there's really no possible way he's going to be able to clear all of these this turn. Now, I guess that's not entirely true. Like I guess he could drop a whole bunch of his fight units, and maybe I should have played a little bit more defensively here. But yeah, I should have played 3 out of range just in case, because technically I've put myself at risk of getting double stalkered here. And if I get double stalkered here, that's really going to mess me up. But he didn't play 2 stalkers to clear my swarms, and now it's pretty much game over for him. Because this next swarm's gonna be scary. Alright, so let's go ahead and kill off our current swarms. And we're also officially at our sequencing. I need to copy one while it's still on the field, though. That's pretty important here. And we'll kill them all off. Our hand is super full, so we don't want to draw more cards. We just want to play more swarms. And here's where the deck starts to get a bit silly. I mean, there's nothing he could do, and I'm likely going to draw another creation very shortly here, and, you know, even if I can't, oh well, I mean, that there may already be all I need to win. And, I can always dig hard with the Lore Thieves if need be. But for now, I'm just going to save my mana. There's no benefit in me playing anything else right now. I think my opponent has just rage quit. Which, you can hardly blame them. There isn't much to be done about it once it gets rolling. Only things that can really give it an issue are a well-placed AoE from red, or a really hyper-aggressive rush deck, which is why I've been hemming and hawing about how best to defend against that, whether that would be Soul Drain and Command, or it would be Hold the Line. I think Command's a given at this point, but a bit of a choice between Hold the Line or going for a big taunt minion, but I don't want a big taunt minion, because big taunt minions are a big mana investment, and if they just get hard removed by something like Last Nightmare or Frogify, that can cost you a game. So I'd much prefer something like Imperial Guard, where I can invest just a little bit of mana at a time. But as he is mono green, there is nothing pretty much no. Well, okay, again, red I have to be very cautious of, because Garudin, their elemental dragon, could wipe this field and leave me with nothing. But versus red, I play a little bit differently. I always make sure to play Creation and Swarm at the same time. So I always have another Swarm in hand versus red. Versus other people, I'm a little bit more careless with them. Alright, but that's what the deck does. It's hyper consistent, and it's really rude, and it's got a pretty ridiculous win rate. Yeah, that felt really good, having the Soul Drains and the Last Nightmares. Frogify, getting to 4 lakes is really hard. And, the 2/2 body it leaves behind is not ideal. Although sometimes the 2/2 body is very useful just to be able to kill off your own swarms. But I think the Last Nightmare Soul Drain version is definitely taking the cake here. Alright, so that's the end of my God rank list that I want to play today. I am quickly running out of time here. In fact, I think I'm going to call it there for the day, because I need to get something to eat. But for anybody here that is a Duelist fan or is interested in Duelist, in about half an hour here, my Team Wars match is supposed to get started. So I'll be back in about half an hour for a Duelist stream with my teammates to get that stuff rolling. So thanks for stopping by, everyone. Hopefully I'll see some of you in about half an hour here.